Alright, we're on number 31, Just Walking, in the book 2 of Samuel Applebaum's uh, String Builders book. Sorry. So in this one, we're going to do something similar to number 30 that we played before. This one has more dynamics though. So when we're thinking about dynamics and our sound quality in general, what we're really talking about is how much pressure we're actually putting on the bow, how much speed we're using on the bow, and then the placement between the bridge and the fingerboard, where the bow usually sits. So typically speaking, with softer dynamics, you want a lighter pressure, so not as much pressure, not as much weight from the arm. A slower bow typically. It also depends on, like, obviously, the what's written in the music. For the placement to be a little bit further than normal from the bridge. If we're playing softer dynamics, typically, it needs to be closer to the fingerboard. Like, about here. We don't want to be all the way up here on the above the fingerboard, because it loses a lot of the sound quality, a lot of the brilliance of the sound that makes violin sound like violin, or a string instrument sound like string instrument. So when we're playing this one, think about those things. Take the chance, when it has little caesura markings, little lift markings, that's more of a artistic recommendation to kind of give a little bit of lift, so that when we go to the next phrase, we can restart and show the different dynamics, because it does have that going from measure 4 to 5, there's that little caesura that we see. So be mindful of that, and like number 30, make sure that you are actually thinking about how much bow you're using all the way from the frog. Obviously start at the frog, and then don't neglect the very end of the bow. We can still get a great sound from this part of the bow, and explore a lot of different sounds and textures from this part of the bow. So don't neglect it. Actually use, when it says whole bow WB, make sure you're actually using the full entire bow. So again, for those of you that don't remember, we're going to have our metronome, our tuner, and our drone. So I'm going to put them all on. This says moderato, so according to my KDM3, moderato is 100 to 120. It's a little bit fast, but I would say I'm going to go about, let's say 90, 100. We'll put it at 100. So I'm going to put my pendulum metronome on 100. I have my tuner going. This is in the key of G, which we know because it says so, and also because it has one sharp, and it ends on G. All important context clues that we need to pay attention to. So, here we go. And it starts off piano. Alright, so, all the way off. When you're playing this, similar to what we had before in number 30, we do have to give a little bit more attention when we're going across strings. Now, I said that before, and I think it's important to say this now. String crossing is hard. It just kind of is. And when we're playing, I want you to be very mindful of how you're going to the next string. And when you're practicing, actually think about that and stop before you play the whole thing, and when you actually break it down and practice it more. you can stop and say, okay, how do I get from, for example, last 5 measures on the down bow marking, 1, 2, 3, 4, yes, 5 measures. It has a string crossing from the D string to the A string. And that's not, it doesn't sound hard, right? It sounds simple, but we need to take time and actually feel that. So what I want you to do, and this is a good string crossing thing to just try in general. String crossing comes from the elbow. And when we're string crossing, if we're going up or down depending on the instrument, on strings, our elbows do different things. So on cello and bass, the lower elbow, the lower the string. So higher our elbow, the higher the string. On violin and viola, it's the opposite. The higher the elbow, the lower the string. Lower the elbow, higher the string. And they have levels, as we probably talked about in our lessons. So when I'm playing this, sometimes I'll take away my fingers, and when I'm doing string crossing to say, and I'll watch my bow, and I'll watch the bridge also. So what I'm looking for is, there's a certain angle in each string. And what I'm wanting to do is to see at what angle do I need to be at to play any given string. So I'll watch my arm, and I'll just play it on the D string, and then I'm going to just lower my arm slowly till I see that I'm fully on the A string. So at one point I will be on both, and then eventually I won't be on either. So I can do this silently, I'll just watch it, and I'll go to the A string. I know you can't see it, but try this on your own. Start on the D string, somewhere in the lower half of the bow. You can play it too. And then slowly lower your elbow, or raise your elbow if you're on the cello bass, until you get to the next string. And now you can do this also as a long kind of sustained note. So hold out D, and then slowly lower your elbow to A. It's a little bit risky because it's very difficult to do, but you can try this at home. And when you're playing, that will help you, as we're doing more string crossings, to get that as smooth as possible. We never want our string crossing to sound abrupt and unplanned. Everything should sound exact, precise, and planned. Now, all that happens in a split second. It's part of the process of playing a string instrument. But as soon as you get that aspect of string playing, it makes life a lot easier. So, practice that. Split it up. We'll talk later about different types of practice methods and how to actually learn individual individual blocking ideas and all sorts of other ideas and concepts of learning music. So that is how we're going to practice, and that's how it should sound in the music. If you have questions, feel free to get in contact with me. If something doesn't make sense, let me know, and I will explain it better, or at least attempt to. And I will see you in the next video. See you later.